So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Just to give you an idea, please make sure that the LinkedIn telecast will be there until 1 o'clock or so. So YouTube Live, please stay tuned in YouTube Live. The link will be posted again and again, and everybody can be aligned to that. Thank you very much. So, Madam Simin Askari, thank you very much for joining the show.
Thank you so much,
Welcome.
Adishar.
Very nice to see you here in the show. So, I would like to give a quick round of introduction, Ms. Simin. Ms. Simin Askari is a seasoned people and business leader with over 3 decades of experience across manufacturing, media, technology, and diversified conglomerates. Former Group CHRO and Head of Business Excellence at DS Group, she has led large-scale HR transformations, organizational design, and digital people process initiatives for complex multi-business enterprises. Her leadership integrates commercial insight, governance, and systems, thinking to build resilient, high-performance organizations where people, purpose, and performance align. So, welcome, Miss Simin Askari. So, she is talking about today AI in your HR toolkit. It's a very important and contemporary topic. So, AI in HR toolkit, practical uses in recruitment, learning and development, and operations. So, welcome, Ms. Simin. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khadir. It's a pleasure to be on this, set for taking this session today. You rightly said it's a very important, I would say, topic, and very contemporary. Only today, I mean, yes, since yesterday, we have the AI summit happening in India, and people from all around the world have come in, all dignitaries, and that kind of showcases the importance of making sure that all of us, including people in HR, understand the implications and the help that AI can bring about in our day-to-day HR processes. So I'm just going to put up my presentation, and if you could just let me know if you are able to see it, and then I can, take it forward. Just a minute.
Sure.
Uh,
Still, you share the screen?
yes, that keeps happening. Yesterday also,
No, no. Share the screen and go to the last window, entire screen. So
I did
then
try sharing
click
screen. It
on
keeps
click on the
saying
window.
that it's not
Click on the
allowed.
window. No, no. When you look the entire screen, click on the window. Click on the window. So the blue button will appear. Just
Oh,
share it.
okay. Just a second. I don't know.
You need to
It's not
click on the
coming.
window. Yeah, yeah.
It's not
So when
appearing.
you, yeah, so you will see 3 tabs, right? Windows entire screen, right? So you have
No, it's
entire
not.
screen.
It's not actually. Okay, let me just try this again. It keeps saying can't share screen is not allowed. Screen sharing is not allowed. I don't know why it's coming like that.
So one second.
Oh,
One
yesterday
second.
also we had a bit of a challenge. When we were
You are
doing
able
a
to share
test run,
yesterday?
it again kept happening the same. I don't know why. So if one of your people can
Yeah,
help with
we will
this.
do that. Don't worry. Jyoti, if you can give me the presentation, I'll share. That's better.
Okay, maybe are you able to see this?
Yeah, now we can see it. Yeah,
You can? Okay. I
yeah,
think the only
perfect.
thing is that in this I'm not able to do the
You cannot.
animation, but it's all right. I think maybe
No, perfect, perfect.
I don't need to do the animation. Maybe you can just sort of hear me out while I'm speaking, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, all right. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just going to start talking about the AI in your HR toolkit, starting from why I feel this is important. I want to just start by reframing of how we think about AI in HR. For many years, HR technology has been all about automation, making processes faster, cheaper, and more efficient. AI represents a very, very different shift now. It is about intelligence and not just about automation. It means that this intelligence, it means it has the ability to see patterns, to predict outcomes, and also to support better judgment at scale. In recruitment and learning, this distinction is going to be very, very crucial. So we are no longer asking how do we process faster, but how do we make better people decisions. And so this session is going to be about that shift and also about applying this practically in HR. The scope and the focus about today's discussion is going to be very, very focused. We're going to look at recruitment optimization and also learning personalization. And these are the two areas where HR teams face the highest volumes. You would be, you people who are in HR, they would understand that there is high complexity. There is a lot of expectations from the team, and the focus will be on how AI will enable high volume processing without really sacrificing the quality, while also delivering predictive insights and skill agility. Ultimately, the goal is going to be to help HR move from, say, intuition led decisions to more data informed decisions. And that this actually does not mean that we are going to remove any human judgment. It only means that it's going to strengthen it with evidence. So let's talk about why AI and why now, and where this fits in the entire employee life cycle. So, according to me, the reason AI has become more critical now is because HR is really under pressure from all sides. Businesses really want very, very fast hiring. You want better quality talent. You want continuous upskilling. And of course, attrition is a pain point. So, that everyone wants lower attrition. And all of this, the business wants simultaneously. So this actually creates something that I call a speed and quality paradox. Traditionally you could have either speed or quality, but very rarely you could have both. But with AI coming in, now you can address this paradox across the employee life cycle. Starting from attracting talent to retaining talent to more importantly, developing and actually making sure that they stick around with you. So AI does not just sit outside our HR systems, it actually fits within the ATS, within the LMS, within the talent platforms, quietly augmenting the decisions rather than replacing people. So that means that, when we look at the AI utility within the employee life cycle, when we look at AI across all of that, we see some recurring themes. Automated sourcing will help widen our talent funnel. Predictive screening will improve the way we are shortlisting decisions. Personalization helps in the making sure that there is learning effectiveness. And finally, churn prediction actually flags the disengagement that could be happening within the organization before it actually becomes full-fledged attrition. And what is connecting all of these cases is actually early intelligence. So, where AI helps us is that it helps HR to not just react after a problem becomes visible, they help in actually predicting that there will be a problem, and therefore HR needs to take an action. And this shift from a reactive to predictive HR is where the actual value lies in when we put in AI in our HR processes. Coming to AI in talent sourcing. Now, obviously, we all, who people who are in HR understand that, traditional sourcing relies very heavily on keyword matching, on, matching the job titles or company names, or you would always have your bosses or the hiring manager telling you that these are the number of years of experience that you need, for a certain role. And that's what traditional sourcing would do. How AI fundamentally changes this process is that it focuses more on the skills, more on the adjacencies, and also more on the availability. So instead of asking the question, who matches this JD exactly, AI would actually ask, who has the capability to succeed in this role? And this also allows HR to uncover talent that could otherwise, be invisible, especially when it is a tight labor market. So you may have, uh, uh, you know, people who may not really be available, but with AI, you're able to contextually match the profiles and actually bring them on board. So AI helps actually scan millions of profiles in a matter of seconds. I won't even call it minutes. But the speed itself is really not what I would call a breakthrough. The speed and the real power actually is in the contextual matching, as I said earlier. That means that understanding what the candidate has done before, what skills they do have, how are these skills transferable, and this actually also enables adjacent talent pools to emerge. For example, someone could be, say, in gaming, but they could very well transition successfully into UI design. AI also predicts availability, so it helps recruiters focus on candidates who are more likely to be engaged, and it also helps in improving efficiency and recruiter morale, because those of you who are in this session and who have actually managed recruitment would know that it is an extremely tedious sort of a role, and making sure that you have the right person and you actually are able to bring the right person on board is a really really difficult task. So, coming to how this resume screening and shortlisting is helped through AI, and automating this without just losing a human touch or overlooking potential. Basically, as we all know, as I said, resume screening is one of the most time consuming and also, I would say, most bias prone stages of recruitment. Because here, when we are screening profiles, we are the people who are ultimately also having some sort of bias in our subconscious mind, and that kind of creeps in. But when AI is applied, the biases are not there, right? It helps in automate screening while also ensuring that the potential is not overlooked. And so by evaluating the skills, the experience, the learning agility, AI reduces the dependence on some sort of pedigree based filtering. Most likely when you are looking at a resume, in the first place, at least before, when AI had come in, I personally am guilty of, when I looked at a resume, the first thing I would look at the pedigree. Where has the person studied from, how much experience do they have, what are the kind of organizations they have worked, and that kind of made up my mind whether this person is going to be good for me or not. And obviously that was a bias that I had. But with AI, I am able to sort of get resumes that are shortlisted based on skills rather than all of these things. And I may have been overlooking skills earlier, but now the profiles I get, because the AI has all shortlisted it for me, is the skills that are more important for me. So that means that the recruiters are now able to spend time on something that matters more, on the conversations and on the assessments. Coming to the next section, where once you have the resumes, what do you do with them? You are going to be doing the interviews and the assessments, and more often than not, interviews are also inconsistent, because people who are taking the interviews are also assessing it in a different manner. So, how does AI help us do this better? Is by structuring the process in a way that it is a standardized, method. So the competencies, the interview questions, the scoring criteria all become standardized. And this, what does this do is that it reduces interview bias. It reduces the variability between people who are assessing different things. And it also makes the hiring decisions more objective. Ultimately, that's the idea that we want, that we should have a objective way of evaluating whether this person is going to be the right fit for the role or not. And for HR leaders, what this means is that it strengthens a governance mechanism, and it also improves the selection outcome, especially when you are doing a very high, hiring at a large scale. This becomes extremely important and extremely helpful. Coming to recruitment analytics and prediction, this I think is where where recruitment actually truly shifts from an operational work to strategic work. And how does this happen? AI allows HR to move beyond just sort of working on the time to hire, or what did I do during this period, to actually focusing on the quality of the hire and focusing on the longevity of the person. So meaning whether this person is going to be able to be productive in the organization for a longer time. So they will be able to do that. And how do they do that? Is by correlating pre-hire data with post-hire performance. If your people who have been hired are at a certain skill, certain experience level, certain backgrounds, they are able to perform better for certain roles. You are just matching all of that data and ultimately predicting that this person is going to be successful, and they are going to be staying in the organization for a longer time. This funnel analytics actually shows exactly where the candidates have dropped off and also why they have dropped off. So these early warning indicators, they will highlight the attrition risk within the first few months, enabling proactive intervention rather than taking mostly when AI was not part of our HR systems. What we would do is, once a person has left, we would try to do a postmortem of that and say that, okay, these were the reasons why this person has left. Let's try and make sure that these reasons don't reoccur again. But that was a post exit analysis. But here you're able to take proactive measures and able to be better at your jobs. Next is our AI in learning and development. Let's just talk about a bit about how this shift from the traditional L&D to AI driven L&D is happening. The transformation is similar to what we had seen in recruitment, what we had just discussed all of this time before. But in L&D, traditional L&D model, was built around what courses would be assigned to what jobs. But today, I would say currency is the skill. That means that the roles today are changing much faster than role descriptions, and employees completely need a very very continuous reskilling. It means that these skills and capabilities need to keep evolving. Keep These people need to be able to do different jobs, because agility is what is required in the organization. And what AI enables is this, that it helps us in transition from making these skills visible, measurable, and also actionable at scale. So the big shift, I would say, is basically from moving from something that was a one size fits all course to something which is very, very hyper personalized, not just personalized, but hyper personalized skill development. And this is, I think, very very important in L&D, because now what AI does is it helps in figuring out that learning is going to be based on what the role requirements are, what the performance data has been, and what the future skills would be. So, skill and ontologies actually help in predicting those gaps for emerging roles. That means that there would be certain skills that might be needed. Your people internally may not really have those skills. So, what do? You quickly start reskilling people so that those skill gaps are fulfilled even before the actual requirement comes in. That actually makes the L&D department very agile and making sure that our employees are future ready. I worked with DS Group prior, just about a month ago, I left. And over there, we had actually introduced a DS learning, uh, tools, and I would say learning academy. that was completely AI driven. And what that did was that it would look at the roles of different individuals, look at the skills, and then figure out how the, for an employee at the same level, uh, often within, in the same department, what is the kind of skill gap that there is. And they would then start throwing very hyper personalized learning modules at people. And that means that everybody's learning journeys were very, very different. And it was completely according to what an individual really needs. So, these hyper personalized learning journeys are something that I feel that are extremely important. And what is the need of the day now? Uh, what it also means is that today the L&D team is not just looking at what learning is happening, but also looking at what is the impact on the performance. So has the performance improved also or not? Just a minute, I think this is not moving. Okay, fine. Yeah, so you can see this next slide, I hope. All right. So, what do we mean by personalized learning journeys? Is that, and this is what I would call as a segment of one. That means, when there are two employees in the same role, they may receive very different learning paths based on their own proficiency levels, based on their aspirations, based on where they want to be. For example, when we have a sales executive joining in, they would want to, for example, become the marketing head. They have that aspiration. Now, how do they do that? So the Learning Academy would actually show them a career path, tell them that, today your skill levels are here. After you've taken an assessment, they tell you this is where you are. To become a marketing head in XYZ years, number of years, this is what all you need to do. This is where all you need to go for a, as a job enhancement. These are the courses you need to take. And all of that actually helps a person to move on the career paths, to reach a target where they want to be ultimately. They can see that career path for themselves, and these recommendation engines on the LMS actually also suggest very relevant content to you. This kind of works on a career path. It shows employees how learning connects to the growth, and this obviously improves engagement level and the ownership of development. So, when I as an individual understand that if I am taking this learning seriously, then it has a direct impact on my career. If I have a certain aspiration of becoming the head of marketing, for example, in say 5 years or 10 years or whatever, these are the things I need to take, then I actually start taking that learning seriously, because then I know that it is impacting my career. And that's what I would say, those of you who are from the L&D teams here would know that it is, extremely tedious and very difficult to make sure that people are actually going online and taking these modules. But when the learning becomes hyper personalized to you personally, that's when you start taking it very seriously. And that's when it becomes more exciting for you, because now you know this is what happens if I take learning seriously, and what happens if I don't, right? So, AI has now become also the co pilot for learning. And that means that, you know, it has reduced the burdens from the L&D teams. Earlier, it was the mandate for an L&D team to actually create those micro learning modules, create the summaries, the quizzes that would come after every course, and then upload them, and then, make sure that people are taking those learnings and, assigning them and all of that. So now what is happening is with AI powered, LMS systems, it allows the employees to sort of interact with the system as though they are having a conversation. You could just type in something with generative AI. I think it's becoming extremely easy and extremely relevant. You could just type in that this is what I want, and instead of navigating through all those menus that are normally the drop downs, you would be getting the relevant content. So AI is helping in not just creating those micro learning modules, but also in curating exactly what kind of modules need to be created for a certain job requirement or a skill requirement. It helps employees to actually ask the questions naturally instead of using a drop down to figure out what kind of a question is what kind of a assignment has to be given, or learning material has to be given. And it also helps in instantly localizing it. So for example, you may have a sales module that would be created for a particular level of sales teams, but your sales teams would be in say in say Tamil Nadu, or in say West Bengal, or in say Rajasthan, and or even Jammu and Kashmir, and you need the same module to be running across the group. But traditionally what you would do is you would get a translator to kind of translate it, to put the local languages in, and then manually reassign it to the people in those regions. But what happens with AI now is that there is an instant translated content which is available for multi-region teams. So you really don't need to do all of that now manually, and AI is becoming a tool for you to do all of this. Now, you know, there are extremely helpful tools that I have also seen that help in not just creating presentations but also content. So, for example, in our organization, what we did was that we had trainings also given to people to become more digital savvy and to know how AI is going to help in their own particular department or processes. Uh, is someone asking?
Yeah,
Okay.
please. Yes, yeah.
All right. All right. I think there was an echo. Okay. So what we did was that we brought in an expert who would be able to take our sessions on AI in their function. For example, AI in procurement. How does AI and generative AI, help in procurement? How does generative AI help in marketing to make it more efficient? So we've done that. That means, making people aware what kind of tools are going to help you, what kind of prompts you need to write to make sure that you get the right outputs. All of that for different departments. Okay. Now coming to how this is important, or it is, when I talk about learning, I am not looking at, as an HOD, I'm not looking at, okay, these are the number of courses that we have assigned to people. I'm actually looking at how has that learning helped in change the performance of the people. Has it improved it? Have the skills become better? Have the proficiency levels become better or not? Now, AI is actually helping in moving from basically what was earlier measured as only a completion rate to actually measuring how the performance has helped or has become better. And is there a correlation between the number of learning that given to the to the output that is coming out, right? Basically, the biggest advantage I would say is moving from this completion rate to tracking proficiency changes, to linking it to the business outcomes ultimately, and also to in terms of measuring internal mobility. Have my people been able to become multi-skilled? Have they actually moved from one department or one role to another? How has the promotions happened? How have the job rotations happened? Have they helped it not, or have as L&D or the learning helped this or not? AI also ultimately helps in identify a bench strength for critical roles. So that means that it becomes a tool for more proactive succession planning. And therefore, just like in recruitment, L&D also shifts from becoming a cost center to actually becoming a strategic capability builder. Uh, a lot of times we have seen that organizations find investment in L&D to be more of a cost. And with AI coming in, and because now with AI, you are able to show business outcomes and actually how learning has affected business outcomes, you are able to justify those costs. And then this becomes more of an investment in people. And I think that's extremely relevant in today's world that we are living in, right? But with all of this, that means that my HR teams also need to change. You know, my HR teams need to have their skills upgraded, and the HR professionals must also evolve. That means today, I would say data literacy is not just essential, and it's not just to become, say, like to look at data and maybe become data scientists, but actually to interpret the insights and also ask the right questions. The right questions, I would say, is in terms of how am I, as an HR professional, working on actually impacting the business in the right manner? And that's, I think, where the shift is happening now, and where HR professionals are becoming strategic partners to the business, because AI is now helping in solving those, earlier paradigms and the issues that HR used to face earlier. Problem framing is critical, I would say, is because AI would solve only what we define clearly. If you're not able to define what is required clearly, then AI is actually going to throw out garbage only. So it's ultimately a intelligent machine, I would say, but ultimately it's not a human being. And therefore, AI literacy also means to understand what are the limitations, what are the risks that are going to be while using AI tools. And therefore, the mind shift of HR must shift from being a gut feeling to more of an insight informed judgment. We have been talking about using data, because data is something that is there all around us. And if we are able to utilize data to take better decisions, I think that's where the shift is going to be. And that's where HR is going to actually start showing their value, right? Now, how do you make this happen? What is the action plan that should be there, in your toolkit? How do you make sure that and the AI in HR is, becoming successful? I would say AI success in HR depends less on the technology, but more on the clarity and more on the change management that happens around it. Therefore, don't just start getting in tools for your HR processes, AI tools, without really understanding what is the problem that this is going to solve. What is the objective of this? A lot of times organizations make this mistake that they would introduce a technology tool simply because it is in vogue, or maybe because there are a lot of organizations that are now using it, so let's also just implement it, without really figuring out, but is it actually defining, or is it actually solving any business problem? So you must first understand what is the problems that are what is the objective of getting in this tool, and is it actually solving it? Also, lot of times, we have processes that may not really be right, and what we just do by bringing in technologies, we are just automating those processes. So that is something that I think we should avoid. What needs to be done is that you need to make sure that the data that you're using is very clean. So the first thing you should start with is making sure that the data cleanliness is audited. Choose one of the areas where you want to do some sort of a pilot. Don't just implement AI in every area without really seeing the impact. So choose a case for the pilot, and make the pilot successful thoroughly, and then start scaling responsibly. And that means that you will have to make sure that transparency, fairness, and also ethics are embedded right from the start. That means that you cannot just bring in a tool without making sure that the processes that you are deploying are transparent, that they are fair, that the fear factor among the staff is addressed. Lot of times, when we bring in technology, and I'm talking from times as far back as when actually computers had come in, and that had brought in a lot of fear for the employees, saying that now that computers are there, my job is at risk. We keep hearing, now that AI is there, my job is at risk. But we need to make sure that we don't just brush away these fears of our people under the carpet. We should address them properly. And how do we do that? Is that when we bring in some technology, we really actually talk about how the technology is going to help and improve the way they work, instead of how that is going to do away with their jobs. So, once you start addressing these fears, communicating what the augmentation is going to be, that's when the actual, I would say, acceptance is going to be in the system. And that's where your AI driven systems are going to be more acceptable and more effective as well. And coming to what this means for the HR professional, I'll just wait for the slide to sort of turn. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I think, yeah,
The
okay,
future of
yeah.
HR professional. Yeah.
Yes, the future of HR professionals. The future, I would say, is completely changing. You know, HR professionals are no longer just people who are able to help in, directing or taking um, certain processes forward, or doing certain sort of manual repetitive tasks. The future of HR professional is going to be, I would say, a part architect and a part skills strategist and a part designer. HR will design intelligent systems. It will anticipate the future capability skills needed, and it will also curate seamless employee experiences. Sorry. So, yeah, sorry. I just had a coughing bout. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, what this means is that we are looking at some new roles that are going to emerge. You know, something like a talent intelligence strategist. Okay, that means somebody who is able to design a system that captures and analyzes workforce data. A skill strategist. That means somebody who will be able to understand and predict future capability needs even before they become critical gaps. And of course, an enabler of experiences, you know, an experienced designer, for example, someone who's able to use AI to curate personalized employee journeys. At DS Group, we had taken this automation and in introduction of AI into our various processes very seriously. So what we did was we introduced people who were specialists in their fields and who also had backgrounds in AI. And so they could be, say, for example, a person in the finance department whose basic role is finance, but who has worked in automation and introduction of AI, and they would come in and look at the processes and work alongside with IT to bring in AI in their finance processes. And this we did across, we did it for procurement, we did it for finance, we did it for HR, and what this all helped was that internally, because somebody understands the process and has worked with the IT, they're able to bring in AI more quickly and in a better manner than if I would just have IT department, for example, work on this. In the end, I would just say that in the age of AI, HR's true value now lies in scaling human potential, scaling it ethically, intelligently, and responsibly. AI actually does not diminish HR's role; it only elevates it. This efficiency actually helps us buy the time, but intelligence helps us buy future readiness. And so, in age of AI, I think our value is scaling up this human potential.
Fantastic.
Um, with this, I think
Yeah.
I have
I'll
come to
take
my
up some
end of
questions.
the yeah
Yeah. So if you can, yeah.
yeah.
It's an excellent overview how AI can be used across HR and learning and development, Siminji. You very well explained how the AI is used, should be used by people in the organization, the HR team, and also the leadership. You explained it very nicely. Okay, so I totally agree with you that in the transformation journey of AI, people are the differentiators because AI going at a very fast pace technology development, but people have to catch up. Okay, so the people is the delta part. Okay, so you very well explained. So just to make it summary, uh, as you rightly said, because of AI, everybody is worried now that the jobs are going, kind of thing. It's basically, as you rightly said, it's a transformation. Okay,
Yeah.
but that has to be taken seriously. It's not something very simple. It has to be taken very seriously. So, what is your advice for three layers for the leadership, for the HR team, and then for the people? Because everybody is affected directly or indirectly. Okay.
Yes.
So, what is your first advice for the leadership of in this whole AI transformation, madam?
So, for the leadership, I think the advice is that AI is, there now, and it is all around us. So, therefore, in order to make your businesses more viable and resilient, you need to make sure that AI is part of your strategy, business strategy. You cannot just say that okay, this is a big cost, so we will look at it later. But if you are not really going to embed AI in your business strategy, your competitors will do that and you will then lose out. I think for the leadership it's more important to learn it, to understand this from a business context. For the HR teams, I would come to the employees first and HR later.
Hmm.
For the employees, I think they need to understand that AI and digital literacy is the currency of the future and they must acquire it. If they don't, they become irrelevant. If they become irrelevant, then of course their jobs are at risk. If they continuously evolve themselves and make sure that they are updated with what is the latest and are able to utilize these tools to make themselves more efficient, that's where they nobody's able to take their jobs. They will always be in demand. And for the HR, I would say they need to be the conduit between the leadership and the employees. Employees will have fears, they will have problems, they will have issues in scaling up and learning those skills, newer skills. HR needs to make sure that the ultimate impact of the employee performance is affecting the business in a positive manner, and therefore they must make sure that their processes become so efficient and so good that ultimately it is the business impact that is reflected. Once that starts happening, HR becomes a strategic partner to the business. even the business leaders will not shy away from investing in those people. So I think that's the role of HR. That's
That's
really
great.
important now.
So I think it's not only an advice; it's some sort of warning, uh, as I
Yeah.
see from you. And I
Yes.
really liked the new roles of HR. You tell about talent, intelligence architect, skills
Yes.
strategist, and experience designer. I think that's something is especially the skills strategist. That's very
Yes.
important for the organizations now because
Yes.
uh, nobody knows what part of the job will be eliminated by AI and what will be enhanced by the individuals. So that is where HR play a key role in aligning to the business strategy. That's
Yes.
really a great, impactful session, Ms. Simin. So, any
Thank you
final
so much.
thoughts? Any final thoughts for? I know the very large organizations they are jumping into AI bandwagon, but mid-sized segments still are watching. What to think? And then the smaller organizations still catching up. So, how to react for this? So, for the mid-size segment, so what is your advice? Because this is a little dilemma area where how to go forward. So, what is your key advice?
So you see, I understand. Whenever we introduce any new technology, cost becomes a challenge, especially for businesses that are not very large and are not able to really put in that kind of investment in that. However, my advice would be that please don't be afraid of this. There are plenty of tools that are available at fraction of cost. They are efficient tools that may not really be costing as much. My only advice is that they must keep their minds open to this, and that they must keep exploring how to make their processes AI driven, and they must look at tools that are not really that expensive, so they will be able to do it even then.
Fantastic advice. Please, I really liked, and as you rightly said, AI should be part of the business strategy. I think
Yeah.
that is something which is very important for the leaders, and people role will be very valuable. I think it's a very important to mention that people are the differentiators now with this AI
Yes.
journey. So thank you, madam.
Thank you so
Excellent
much.
presentation. It was very nice content. I think you used AI also heavily in preparing
Yes,
that
I did
presentation.
that. See, I'm making myself more efficient by doing this as well. Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you
And
so
yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions to Ms. Simin, please post. We will make sure that those questions are get answered as we go
Yes.
on. So we have a
I
back.
am available on LinkedIn as well. So, most of the time participants are not able to ask because there's such limited time. But I am available. I normally try and respond to people putting questions on LinkedIn as well. So, I'd be happy to address it as well. So, thank you so very
That's,
much for having me.
that's
Thank you.
so nice of you, Ms. Simin. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Wish you
All
very
right.
much. Great time.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause to Ms. Simin. So we have wonderful lecture and it's very insightful. Okay, so now let us. We had a very wonderful lectures, DEI from Mr. Sundarraj, and also uh, the AI impact from Ms. Simin. So it's a very interesting to start the sessions today. So now we will go